Hopefully you can see that. Is it letting me go? All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. Can everyone hear me okay? Is it so perfect? So what we're talking about today is a kind of a new area. I guess I just covered up with the Zoom screen when I do that. And so I cannot see you while I'm doing the presentation. So if anybody has anything to add, this is very casual, just on mic and jump into the conversation. So what we're focusing on right now is, when we're here, try to turn off your camera. Turn off you can leave your camera on, but I'm saying feel free to turn it off if you wish to. So if you're on your phone or doing some other activity, it's helpful to turn that off. And then the mic, if you would mute your mic, it just minimizes distractions. So you're welcome to stay with the camera on. That helps keep the engagement, and when you have something to share, it's very beneficial. So I'd like to jump to anybody that has any questions. And then at the same time, feel free to put your comments in the chat box. And we'll have time after this to jump in and have the panel discussion. So I'm really happy that you're all here. What we're going to be covering is talking about, hypnosis-assisted learning, but really focused on academic stress, and how hypnosis might be used for helping with these feelings of calm, helping with studying techniques, and also helping with focus and anxiety that might be related to stress. So we're going to be talking a little bit about what is hypnosis, and also what is this hypnosis-assisted learning. And then we'll go a little bit into, for people that want to go in a little bit deeper on this, that this might be something of benefit, then we'll have that. And for the people that stick around at the end, there'll be an opportunity to get a script or an MP3 for focused learning, and it's self-hypnosis for focused learning. So what we're going to be talking about is this, and I am a practicing hypnotherapy practitioner. I started off in the world as an engineer, so I'm kind of problem solution based person. And I had an experience where I realized that my own beliefs were the reason for the quality of my life. There were some things that happened. There were some things that involved self-sabotage and some other things. And what I recognized is that the very core beliefs that we have can determine how we show up in life, how people treat us, and what we accomplish. And the moment that we recognize those beliefs, we can actually change them. And I was looking for a way to help people transform those, feelings of stress or anxiety into something else so that they could live a happier, healthier life, to have that confidence to do what it is that they want to do. And I really focus in on a key area of highly sensitive people, empaths and intuitives, because they tend to have difficulty with these feelings of emotion because they're heightened in response. So what is academic stress? It's kind of a term that is not really talked about a lot. A friend of mine was a nurse, and she said that she worked at a private school. It was a boarding school, and the majority of students that came in to see her were on some form of anxiety control medication, or they had some sort of prescription where she would dispense that to them as they needed. And she talked about the high levels of stress that people had while they were studying, because there was such pressure put on them academically. So I'd like to go ahead and just ask you, what is stress to you? And I'd like to focus it around learning, but what is the stress to you? I'll stop the share here. And has anybody experienced stress when they've been trying to learn something new, whether it be related to technology? Sharon has raised her hand. Sharon, go ahead and share. What have you come up with?
Oh, I enrolled in Athabasca University online, and I had a great time. Loved what I was studying. Was really interested, but when it came to a test, it was horrible. So I got hold of my basically with the student advisor, and they said, okay, we've got a cure for that. And I said, you have a cure for that? And they said, yep. They said, you can write until you pass. And I said, what do you mean I can write till I pass? They said, you can write that test as many times, or the tests for it, until you pass. And I said, well, that's ridiculous. And they said, no, the test is about what you know, not about how scared you are when you know it. And I never made under 90 again. And all in your head, absolutely all in your head. And it was, and at university, I actually, or in the university courses I actually took what I loved. I didn't go for a degree or anything else. I literally went into the subjects and paid the money to study the subjects, even though I was completely out of order.
Thank you for that. And so it's about what you believe. It's the beliefs that you have about the test. Does anybody else have anything that quickly we can share? So I'd love to share because it goes right into what we were talking about, and that is that beliefs, even your beliefs about how you take a test can be related to, let's see, am I doing the right one up? I'm showing the wrong screen. Hold on. So share screen. Is that the right one? Is it showing the right screen?
But there's a window yet now.
Yeah, it says, what is the stress?
Now it's gone.
Right.
Steve, there was another thing though. I never had to write it twice again either.
That's amazing. And so that is one of the biggest problems that exist with people that are having academic stress. And so the biggest thing that we need to focus in on first is, what is stress? And not all stress is unhealthy. Actually, you need stress. If you didn't have stress, you wouldn't get out of bed in the morning. The good stress gets us moving. It's the thing that pushes us to tell us we're on track. You know, it helps us with our studying, our classwork, but it also gets us to be motivated. If we didn't have stress, we wouldn't have any inspiration to change. So the idea is not so much that we want to have no stress, but when we have high levels of stress, it moves into anxiety and it is unhealthy. So the focus is how can we manage this stress? How can we harness that energy? And how can we put that to work, you know, for doing something that we want? So when we talk about academic stress, those thoughts and feelings, you know, about your performance, about being graded on what you know, they can actually create that prolonged stress, that anxiety. The way that you can know that is if it starts affecting you, if it affects your sleep, if it has a effect on your self-worth, if it causes like these feelings of depression, excess worrying, unhelpful thinking, things that kind of detract from your quality of life. And we can look at that. A lot of times it's based on, you know, where your focus is. I hear people all the time say, I'm not good at technology. I'm not good at math. There's this self-identification with who you are and what you're doing. And some people will even say, I'm not good at taking tests. It's a belief, but it's something that we can challenge, and it's something that we can harness for our own good. So some of the studying methods that we might focus on, where hypnotherapy comes in and is helpful, is it can actually improve your studying methods and your test-taking ability. If we were looking at how to recognize academic stress, what you do is you look for the source of the stress in one area. So is it related to a particular class or a typical or a type of work that you're doing? Could it be time management relation, or could it be prioritization? I mean, there could be stress because you put off putting your term paper until 2 days before it's due, and it's an unreasonable amount of time to get it done. So there are some things there. And then there could be, do you have too much on your plate, right? Are you trying to do too much? Is what you're doing reasonable? Do you have a reasonable expectation of your time commitment that's involved? And then the other thing is, what else could be a factor? You know, could there be something going on, and not only in the family expectations or financial, but the stress could be related to diet, sleep, you know, some other things. So it's a circular loop. So could the stress be, you know, this is how to pinpoint how it's affecting you is it keeping you from sleeping? Because when you're not sleeping, then you're actually more likely to have feelings of stress or feelings that will affect your mental health. And then, is it taking you longer to do things? Are you having these feelings of overwhelm? Are you possibly being paralyzed, you know, in even starting what you want to do? And then, is it causing these feelings of anxiety or feeling unwell? Like Lucia mentioned earlier, that her experience with the class was causing difficulty there. So much so that she wasn't wanting to go to it. So my question now is, what do you all know about hypnotherapy? So I'm going to stop the share again, and it's kind of an interesting question, but what have you heard about hypnotherapy? What do you know about it? So Lucia is here. She's a practicing hypnotherapist, so she's a good person to ask. But how about somebody that doesn't know anything about it, or has only seen things, that's curious? But so Usha, what have you heard? Where's your level of comfort? Are you?
So I don't know much about hypnosis. I have enrolled for the course, however, I have not started. So I think it's mostly about getting into the subconscious mind and changing the beliefs, and you take them into the state of subconsciousness when subconscious is aware, and then changing the belief or adding new beliefs. This is what I know. I don't know it's right or wrong.
I love that, and that's actually you know, quite accurate. But it's something that the question is who is doing this hypnosis thing, right? It's like when I first started studying it, I'm going, okay, I understand what's happening, but I don't know why it's happening. I don't know exactly what I'm doing, you know, why this effect is happening. And what I recognize later on, this is all done by ourselves. This is something that if you go see a hypnotherapist, all they're doing is providing a space and a guide, but all of the work is done by yourself. The most effective hypnotherapy sessions that I do are probably the most vague. If anybody were listening on the outside, they would have no real sense of what was going on inside the client's mind. Because what I learned early on is that if you're guiding somebody through, you have no idea how far ahead of you they are or how far behind. You let them go wherever it is that serves them, and the deeper they go, sometimes there won't even be they get clarity without knowing why. It's almost like this information will come to them later on. So it's not something that's done by a hypnotherapist. It's more done by the person that's the client. Anybody else have anything that came up as a question, Sharon?
How much is this related to biological psychology? Like at what point are you watching the science on?
So this is my theory. This is Steve's theory. I have not read this in any book. This is what my belief is. I believe it's a biological response. So if you look at animals that are herding, if you look at fish that are in schools of fish, if you look at birds that are murmuring, that are flying in flocks, they move almost in unison. They call it a superorganism. They're flying, in the slightest movement of one will impact the movement of the others. They can make a change in almost instantaneous fashion, right? They don't hit each other. They move in unison. So my belief is, and the other thought would be, like with a herd of antelope in the field, they'll be grazing. If there's a noise, if a predator comes up, one may raise its head, right? Now he's on alert. The moment that antelope bolts, they all bolt. There's a response mechanism that says, is there a trigger? Now everyone go. So what my belief is, as far as the biological response of hypnotherapy, is the client goes into this theta brainwave state, but that theta brainwave state, which is natural for all of us. We enter that state the moment that we fall asleep, right? It's the state right before we go into that full, even deeper state. I think that's the delta. And then it's the same state that we come into as we're coming up. So it is related to sleep, and that's why a lot of times people say sleep. That's the term that you hear people say with hypnotherapy. It has nothing to do with actually being asleep. It's you go into hyper focus. You're focusing all of your information on what comes next, and that's why they also snap their fingers. They do an interrupt, which puts you in this. Okay, what just happened? So to go back to what I was saying about the biology, just like the antelope are looking for the next clue. Well, when you are receptive to hypnotherapy, you're looking for a cue from outside. So we are social beings. We are, we tend to be in groups. And so you're looking for a cue. So that way you can relax, you can rest. And that's one of the cues of hypnotherapy. You actually go into this state of relaxation. It's resting. It's very positive for healing, but you're off tasking that need for someone else to check for threats, to check for what's going on, and to give you the visual cues or to give you the cues of what's happening. But everything is still done within. You can't be mind controlled. You can't be. I'll share my screen here, and I think it's this one. I'll just do this. So with hypnotherapy, it's not like in the movies. So if the hypnotherapist loses connection, or I think there was a Liar Liar movie with Jim Carrey. The hypnotherapist had a health problem, and the session didn't finish, and so actually, I'm sorry, I think it was Yes Man. Those aren't real situations. They're like in the movies where you have the people jumping over the buildings, the superheroes. It's a form of entertainment, but it's not real. There's no loss of self-control. You can't be made to do something that you wouldn't normally do. And even the people on stage, like with stage hypnosis, it can remove the inhibitions, but it can't make you do anything that you would not normally do. Anytime within hypnotherapy, if you're asked to do something that is not in alignment with your core values, you actually go into a cognitive processing state, and you will come out of trance state. It's a natural thing. It's no different than being asleep and hearing a loud noise or hear something. You will come out of your sleep. So it's not foolproof either. There have been instances where people have had false memories and things like that come up. It's just, think of it like your imagination. When you're a child, from the ages of 0 through about 7 or 8 years old, you operate in that theta brainwave state. And so it's like having that state of mind. So it's not a trick done by the hypnotherapist. It's actually done by the client. It's done by the person sitting in there coming for the help. One of the best things that I've read is from the Mayo Clinic, and that's hypnotherapy can be an effective method for coping with stress and anxiety. Now, it also talks about that it can be used for pain control. There's many other things that it can be used for, but it is one of the most common and effective way to deal with stress and anxiety. When we're talking about what hypnosis is, it's focused attention. It's reduced peripheral awareness. You're less worried about what's going on around you and more focused on one particular thing. But it also gives you enhanced capacity to focus on a very specific area. It's in that specific area, it is increased suggestibility. Your critical factor, which is that cognitive processing, running it through the rules of what does this mean, all those things, is less active. You actually take this in just as like a story or just like a movie that you would watch. It immerses you in that experience. And it is a natural state. So there's some studies that have been done, and I'll just run through these really quickly. And it's just to show that that with stress related to test anxiety, that there have been some positive results. And it's about the two areas specifically are anxiety reduction, and then areas for study, memory and concentration. So if you look at just one of the hypnosis schools. They did 16 studies related to performance and hypnosis. Most of them are related to test taking and stress related to that. But there are also some that relate to public speaking, self-confidence, to improve your overall experience. And just like Sharon said, the moment she believed different, right? So the moment she had a different perception of what that test outcome was going to be, it changed it for her forever. And not only that, her performance improved. She said she got 90 on those after that. So that was really amazing. The reason it's so effective is because within hypnosis, you're training your own body to move into this state of relaxed being. So with hypnosis, there's 3 different primary ways that help with stress and anxiety for test taking or even studying. You're calm, you're relaxed, and you're focused. If we look at all of these different areas, there's a lot of things that people come to see, to use hypnosis for, hypnotherapy. Most of them are related to some sort of habit change. 2% of the clients are looking for study skills or study skill improvement. That kind of could be related to maybe a habit. And 9% of the people come for anxiety-related support. But if you put all of these together, a lot of these are belief-based, and it's been shown that in a past study that people tend to have rapid, lasting benefit from hypnotherapy, but it's not for everybody. And the reason I say it's not for everybody is because it's about what works for you. If you can do this on your own, or if you have the belief that you need some other type of support, that's what you should do. The main focus is what do you need? What do you want? And having somebody that's doing hypnotherapy will help you access maybe some core beliefs that you don't know. We talk a lot about the Johari window. Hypnosis allows you to access that area of what you know, but you don't know it. So here's some words of wisdom. And whatever you believe, it's going to be true for you. It'll seem true for you. So if we're going to focus on the takeaways for studying, make sure that you have a goal with studying, right? So if you're doing the hypnotherapy based, relax a little bit before you do, but have a goal in mind. So you clear your mind, focus on that goal. Find something fascinating. Hypnotherapy used to be called fascination. If there's something that fascinates you, you will know every detail. If you think about right now, if there's somebody that, let's say that if you go back to a time when you liked somebody, you could probably pull back that memory with what they were wearing, what they were doing, every little detail. And that's because you were quite interested in that person. You can also focus on your time schedule. So don't try to do too much when you're doing your studying. Get some rest and relax in the morning of the test. And then for exam stress, just relax and breathe. Stimulating the vagus nerve is the most effective way to bring in that relaxation method. That's where you fill your diaphragm, fill your chest, and then breathe out. During the test, from that calm state, from that self-hypnosis state, read through all the questions and then find the ones that seem like you know the answer to, and then reread those and seek the understanding of the question. And then go through and answer the questions that you feel most confident about. Do your best on that. So the motivation does come within. That was that last slide here. Oops, what happened? And so just go for it. Like even doing these events, I mean, everyone here, we've all moved past that fear of public speaking to talk about something that's more important than ourselves. So believe in yourself. And when it comes to your children, teach them to believe in themselves too, right? Find those positives. If you want a download of the MP3, the audio for enhanced learning and focus, just email me. It's steve@mybest-life.com. And I appreciate you all being here. Oops. So very good.
Thank you,
And
Stephen.
we do have a, yeah.
Thank you, Stephen, for your very interesting session. And I believe we are now moving into the